my career at work, and I've loved my family life. And he was very, very accepting of it. And I think that's, I guess, the only thing and only place you can be at. It's tough.
So Adam, they say, well, on the news it said that potentially 1 in every 2 of us is gonna have cancer at some sort of stage. What was it like when? First of all, what sort of symptoms did you have? Because
Yeah.
yours was bladder cancer.
Yeah.
And second of all, what was it like when you got that sort of news? And how did you move forward through that journey?
I didn't. Yeah, where do I start? I first of all, I didn't know what bladder cancer was, but that came down the line. I started feeling a bit just not quite myself, and I put it down to stress at work and just mentally getting tired. But I'd never been ill, so I'd never had a day off, maybe half a day off. I had some heart palpitations when I was younger, maybe took half. I'd never been ill at Sky or at school or anything. I ran away from doctors. I never went. Never don't want to go to a GP. I didn't want to know what was in my body because I guess I gave up drinking a long time ago. I don't smoke. I've never smoked ever. So, and I keep myself fairly fit. But of course, the stress of being in the boxing world, running around, and as we talked about it, the few hours sleep, all that sort of stuff. Of course, it can build up, and you can eat badly, and all that sort of stuff. But I went to the gym. I was fairly healthy, I guess. But the stress is another thing, and it's a heart thing. Of course, you've got to check, and cancers, obviously, it's related to. There was bowel cancer in my family, just through an uncle, but not sort of direct. But yeah, I guess I didn't really think about it, and then I got blood in my urine.
Wow.
And I just thought, wow. When it first happened, I thought, whoa, wow. I thought, that's odd. Didn't really think about it. I thought I must have eaten something, or maybe it was. I Googled. I mean, it's probably the worst thing you should do. Google. Don't do that, and I don't do that anymore. But I Googled, and it said if you've got blood in your urine, you should get to your GP. It could be something. It could be an infection, or it could be something more sinister. But I thought, nah. And I thought, I've eaten some beetroot in a salad or something. You con your brain, don't you? You just don't want to. You don't want to know, right? And then it went away, and I thought, okay, that's just nothing. And then it came back, and then it sort of got more regular. And
what sort of period are we talking about? Weeks or months?
Yeah. We're talking a small period, but it came back. So I thought it wasn't anything, and then it came back, and then for about maybe a couple of weeks, it was not good. But then it sort of went again, and so I wasn't quite sure. And then it came back, and it was really awful. It was really heavy. It was like clotted, and it was obvious that something was seriously wrong. And then I didn't want to do anything about it. It was like the brain saying, I know something is seriously wrong. And then it's your other part saying, I don't want to know. And that's that at that time. Now, I would say to anyone, if there are any symptoms, or not even if there aren't symptoms, just you're 50-something, go and get yourself checked out. One of my friends has just got diagnosed with bowel cancer. He had an operation. He's recovering. He's good. It didn't spread. But that's in my little group in Acton of 4 of us who were really tight. That's 2 of us in our early 50s. So just go and get yourself checked out. Prostate cancer, Simon Jordan had it. He had no symptoms. He went because of his brother. So go and get yourself checked out. It's no harm. I never did. I never got myself checked out. And I think, but at that point I was thinking, and I spoke to a friend, and he said, get yourself to a doctor. You have responsibilities, your kids, etc. That's all I needed. I needed to hear it from someone else. So I went down. I went to a walk-in clinic, and I went with somebody actually. I saw a doctor quickly, and they looked at it, and they took a sample, and they said it's probably a urinary infection. So they gave me some antibiotics. So I went back. I took the antibiotics. Nothing changed. They said, antibiotics take 72 hours to kick in. Don't worry about it. Then I started feeling really unwell, like tired. And someone said to me, you're losing weight. And I thought, I've got cancer. I just thought it. I just thought it's definitely cancer. Because I thought, I have not felt like this. And there was blood in the urine. It can't be. And the antibiotics haven't done anything. Come on. put two and two together. And then again, someone said to me, they said, oh, go back on the Monday if things haven't changed. And it was like the Wednesday. And someone said to me, go back in. You're not feeling good. It's not working. Thank you very much, the friends that told me that. I went back in and there was no infection in the blood. So they knew then that it was something else. So I got sent down to a hospital and I was checked out. And they said it's one of three things. They asked me if I was a smoker. I said, never smoked in my life. They said it's one of three things. It's a urinary infection. It is gallstones or it is bladder cancer. And I said, what's bladder cancer? And they said it's normally a smoker's cancer that affects people normally in their 70s, average age about 74. It's often a cancer that people get late on in life, and often maybe that's one of the things they don't recover from. So I was 51 at the time, and they said it's very rare for a non-smoker and someone at 51 to have bladder cancer, but it happens. And it could be. But they need to do a CT scan. NHS were unbelievable. They were really quick. I owe my life to them. Forever grateful. I was in the Prue Hospital at the time in Kent, and I went in, and I was in and out of there for the next few weeks. I went in for a CT scan, and then they called me back 2 days later, so I knew it was serious. It was Valentine's Day. I went in, and I walked into, they gave me more blood tests and stuff. I walked into a little office, and a doctor came up to me and he handed me two bits of paper. And one said something about a nephrostomy, which I had no idea what it was. And the other said, it was something to do. I looked at it. I glanced at it and thought, I've got a tumor. And I looked at the other and said, I don't know what that is. So I was really confused. And I got in and I sat down and he said, let me show you on the screen. And he put a TV screen up. And on the screen, he showed me my bladder. And there was a round bit taking up 2/3 of the bladder, probably. Looked like a big orange, more to one side. And he said, that is a tumor. And it's the biggest tumor I've seen in working in this hospital. I don't know whether it's benign or not. But it needs to be tested, and it's up against the bladder wall. I said, okay. He says, so you're going to have a biopsy. We're going to have to put you under, and you're going to have a biopsy to find out whether it's cancerous. And I said, well, what's this nephrostomy thing? And he said, that's your kidney. The kidney, you have one kidney that is completely failed. And so one kidney is working double time. So we need to immediately drain that kidney, because I think the blood had got into the kidney, and anyway, it was completely blocked. So they said that has to be done within the next hour and a half. And they said if you hadn't come in because of that, probably 4 days you'd have had. I'm like, 4 days? They said, yeah, you would have been dead. And I was like, oh my God. And that's when it dawned on me that, oh my God, thank God I'm here. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening to me, but I guess I couldn't control what was happening, but I was like, thank God I'm here. So they took the nephrostomy. What happened was they took and put a tube in me and tied something to my leg, which drained the kidney to try and get the kidney working again. That was the first thing. The next night, I went down for a biopsy, and they said it would take 2 weeks to get the results. And I was back in a ward. And the next morning, 8 or 9 of the urology team came around dressed in their sort of mauve outfits. And they all stood around, and a guy called Nick Fur-Walker came up to me, a consultant, and he said, Adam, I know you've been through the wars, but he said, I've got some really serious news to tell you. I thought I was dead. I thought, that's it. I thought I'd have 6 weeks or something. And he said, you've got aggressive invasive bladder cancer. It's stage 3. It hasn't broken through the bladder wall. We don't think, but we need to get you checked out to see if it's spread. But you're going to have an immediate or an emergency operation within a few weeks to cut your bladder out, to cut your prostate out and all the lymph nodes around it. And you'll be having a stoma bag. And I mean, that was a lot of information to take in. But I just sort of heard that I wasn't dead. So I was like, okay. They all sort of walked off. He asked me if I had private insurance through Sky. Not because the NHS were brilliant, but because I think the speed of it, because it was, I think I had to have it done within 6 to 9 weeks. I had to have it done within 4 to 6 weeks. And the